Thank you for joining us for Small is All, building great teams one person at a time. I'm so glad you joined me for the class, and I hope not only did you enjoy it, but I hope that you left with some practical ways that you can take small steps in your team to not only grow the influence of the team and the success of the team, but to build better connections that drive greater results. We talked about the state of the workplace, and we talked about the great detachment. You might remember that idea about having perfect attendance and no presence, that the results of what's going on in the workplace today have really played a big part in where we find ourselves from an engagement perspective. And we talked about the power of small, that what we do in the small sets the stage for what we can see and experience in the large. That when I miss the small, I miss the signal. And we talked about some of those signals that we see from people, those sighs in the meeting, the shutdown in the conversation, the repeated misses around who gets to talk and who gets to bring ideas to the table, that in the small things, we also can find disengagement. We know that big things don't just appear. They are a collection of small signals over time. And that the way we show up for the small things makes all the difference for the large. We had an activity. You can do it with your team where you start to name the small things that people are doing that make a big impact. It's a great recognition idea. We talked about how to do that every single day just by talking with folks about what they're doing and celebrating those things. We also talked about the supercharger of somebodiness, this idea that everybody brings a perspective that matters, that because you matter like I matter, my perspective of you is going to be one of honor and one of wonder, that everybody brings something special. And we also talked about how my subconscious mind is fighting against me in that way. 11 million pieces of information a second to 40 pieces of information a second. That if we can show up for the small, if we can see those unique characteristics of every team member, we can make a real difference in how we get it done. The team is an ecosystem. Lots of tiny things that make up a big system. And so we gave you another activity, Roots to Rise. And you can still use that today to actually claim and name and bring language to the special gifts that each person brings to the team. And then you can talk about how to set them up for success in that way. If you got new team members joining, this is a great activity to use on day one to talk about what they already bring with them to the work and to the organization. You can use the QR code to go there today and work with your team. Maybe it's a team meeting activity where you share gifts and talents and what each of you bring that's special to the system of team. Creating that literacy creates team. We talked about trust and timing and flow. The benefits of supercharging small things with somebodiness is that we get to do it together and we get to do it in rhythm. And we talked about the pit crew in racing, and we watched this beautiful video of starling birds moving forward together in such a smooth and flowing way. It was almost awe-inspiring to just watch those birds move and think about the cultures we can create. We also talked about playing small when it comes to culture, that every interaction is a seed we plant to create a different way to do things. And so we talked about the things that we tolerate, the things that we celebrate, and the things that we repeat in culture. And we asked ourselves, what kind of culture are we seeding as we move throughout a day? We got together and we played culture poker. Remember the card game? Where we talked about specific things that are going on in culture. And I would encourage you to recreate that activity right there in your team, at your next team meeting. Talk about some of the things that are a culture we want. Talk about some of the things that are the culture we have. And then maybe some culture warnings, some things that if we're not careful, we'll lose that sense of team. We'll lose our ability to execute. We'll lose our chance to win by the end of the year, by the end of the project, by the end of the challenge. the culture we want, the culture we have, and the culture we want to warn against. Sit down and have those conversations today. Because remember, culture isn't written on some wall. Culture is what's repeated in the everyday. And then finally, we gave you an activity called Pit Stop Perspectives, where you're able to use the spinning wheel to move around and connect about culture norms. Some of those same scenarios that you saw in Culture Poker, similar scenarios are there in Pit Stop Perspectives. And it's a great activity to get up, to move around, to connect, to understand, and to get wisdom in the small things from each other. The truth is, a lot of times we don't have the solution because we didn't go to where the solution is, right there in our own team. And so we gave you an activity that you can use right away to get perspective on your team, not just about culture, but about how to get things done better every day together. We appreciate you joining the class. Small is all. That if you feel stuck, if you feel frustrated, and even if you're excited about how to move forward, the next move is one small step away. What's the one way you can bring more of your gift to the table, and what's one move you could take to create more growth, more alignment, and more flourishing right where you're leading? Thank you for joining us for Small is All. We hope to see you at our next Translators Group Learning Experience.